Hello there, and welcome to Reach for Power, where we take a closer look at the power itself and the strategies to build it. I am your host, Monika Kruk, and in this episode, we will focus on complimenting others. This is a follow up to one of the earlier episodes where we discussed flattery. From what I've heard back from you was that many of you still feel somewhat uncomfortable with practicing this specific power strategy. Hence, today we will take a deeper dive into complimenting and see what to do and what not to do when using this particular power building activity. First of all, let's discuss why complimenting might be helpful and for what specific purpose it might be used. So, first and foremost, surprise, surprise, it is used for expressing admiration or approval for another person. As a result, it might help to start the relationship or cultivate the existing one with the listener. In certain situations, it can also replace greetings, apologies, congratulations, and similar, so help you find yourself in social occasions. It might also help to soften situations related to apologizing, requesting something, or, for example, offering criticism or constructive feedback. In certain circumstances, it might help maintain a conversation, helps to keep it going. And finally, it might also reinforce certain preferred behaviors in another person. In other words, if you compliment somebody on something that they have done well, they will be encouraged to repeat the behavior that resulted in this compliment. Now let's have a look on several of my favorite do nots in terms of complimenting, and I have listed for you 7 common errors which might happen in this specific circumstance. Point number 1, generalization, meaning you use a compliment which effectively can be applied to anybody. Examples include all-time favorites like "you look great" or "that was a great speech" or something similar. It is absolutely clear that this specific comment might be applied to pretty much anyone. On one hand, it's great because, well, it can be applied to anyone, but on the other hand, it is also clear for the compliment receiver that you haven't put much thought into it. Error number 2 is when the compliment is about somebody else. Believe it or not, I've heard a cringe-worthy exchange during one of the book signings that I recently attended, where actually a person mentioned to the author how much they enjoyed their previous book. And yes, you guessed it right. The person doing the book signing was not the author of the book mentioned. It was really painful to watch, let me tell you this. Error number 3, making it about you. In other words, starting with something which seems like a genuine compliment, but then turning it into your personal pitch. Being a power coach, I fully understand the need to self-promote, and as you know, I'm wholeheartedly supporting it, but there is a time and place for that. And in terms of complimenting, it's all about the person whom you want to compliment. Just for that specific moment, it's not about you anymore. Examples of this error might include starting with a statement like, "I really admire the career path that you had. And by the way, mine looks equally impressive." Then it's not a compliment, it's a pitch. And pitches have their place in your power toolbox, but they have a different applications and different situational focus. Error number 4 is not being genuine. Why? Because assuming that your listener is a person with at minimum basic self-awareness, they would know that the element that you are complimenting is not actually worth being complimented. One specific example that stuck in my head was back in the times when I was still in the corporate world, and we had one of the award ceremonies happening in our company. As you can imagine, for each of the awards that was issued that particular night, we had multiple contenders. One of the people on the list won, surprise, surprise, and what followed was effectively an embarrassing display of lukewarm congratulations and compliments coming from other contenders. Honestly, in this situation, it would have been better just to say all the best, congrats, and just move on, because it is rather clear for everybody that you are not necessarily overjoyed with that person winning the award that you were hoping to get. Point number 5 I observed very recently, and it's effectively about sharing personal info. One of the very common pitfalls, which honestly might happen to anyone, is, for example, when you are congratulating or wishing somebody happy birthday and using some sort of compliment related to that. Why? Because you almost feel tempted to spell it out loud, especially if the number tends to be around 1, like 30, 40, or 50. But then you realize that possibly not everybody in the room or in the surroundings actually knows that specific information. Furthermore, the person to whom your congratulations or wishes were directed at might not wish to have that number revealed. Error number 6 refers to being culturally insensitive. We all know that in certain cultures, mentioning certain topics, either in conversation or specifically in complimenting somebody, is actually off the table. In others, it is almost like context related. We know that certain elements are simply either taboo or not regarded as something that you discuss on a broader forum. Those elements might include personal appearance elements, age, financial status, employment status, health. And we simply and evidently should steer clear from those, especially if we are aware that in a given cultural setting, they might raise eyebrows. Last but not least, number 7, and my personal favorite, double entendres, which I also call passive aggressive. I recently received such compliment myself. Luckily for the person sharing that compliment, I overgrew certain triggers at this point, but the compliment went something like this: "You look pale and tired today. That really suits you." I laughed it off because of the level of relationship that we have with the other person, but I can easily imagine a situation where the same compliment would have been used in a slightly less developed relationship where it might seriously backfire. So the point here is you make it about the other person, but you make it with an attempt to make the other person feel good about themselves, not self-conscious, not hesitant, not offended, but actually feeling good. Okay, we looked at don'ts in terms of complimenting. Now let's gather all those elements in terms of do's. How the complimenting should look like in order for you to feel good and for the other person to feel good. First and foremost, make it personalized. Make it about the other person. In order to have a personalized compliment ready, do not hesitate to research the individual whom you are going to meet with. Check any interesting trivia about them. Maybe they have won an award or written a book or interesting article, or maybe there was an interview with them, or maybe they just got promoted. There are many elements that you can find nowadays about the other person using social media and good old Google search. Point number 2, focus on the other person. It's not about you. It's not about your pitch. It's about them. It's about your empathy and your understanding about their situation to make sure that you hit the ground running and actually make the other person feel good. Point number 3, make it genuine. As I mentioned already in one of the previous episodes, I am a firm believer that in every single one of us, there is at least one gem, a characteristic, a talent, a skill that we can universally admire. Focus on finding that one element which you authentically appreciate about the other person and focus on complimenting it. It will serve multitude of purposes. First of all, your compliment will sound genuine and tailor-made. It will evidently be about this person. Furthermore, it will make you feel good because you exemplify the element which is worth highlighting and worth promoting. And point number 3, you will not feel that you are brown nosing or you are just complimenting somebody for the compliment's sake. You will actually say something true and authentic to the person. Point number 4, remember to be discreet. Do not leverage any personal information that the individual might not want to have revealed. However trivial it sounds, it might be tempting, especially as mentioned during various celebrations and other occasions like that. Keep in mind, as point number 5, to set yourself in a cultural context. Make sure that the topics that you leverage for your compliments are actually appropriate to the situation, to the geography that you are in, or maybe to the specific organization that you are in. And last but not least, make it positive. Make it genuinely about the other human being and making them feel better, because that's the most beautiful start of a conversation, new relationships, and also potentially opening new doors for you. If you make it passive aggressive or aggressive as such, then, well, it wouldn't fly very far. Thank you very much for listening. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe to have regular access to the newly published content. You are also welcome to check Reach for Power webpage at reachforpower.com for more materials and share your thoughts and comments through LinkedIn with me. Thank you for joining me today and keep on reaching for power.